All 5 Spurs starters finished in double figures. Keldon Johnson at a team-high 23 off the bench. But the Boston Celtics are the defending champions for a reason, and they made every big shot when it mattered down the stretch. They beat the Spurs 121-111. When we continue Spurs Live, Dan Weiss, Kiana Williams, back at our Spurs Live desk. You know, Kiana, the last couple of games, I think, have really shown how much the Spurs have missed Victor Wembanyama's defensive presence in the middle. The other night in Cleveland, Jared Allen had 19 in the fourth quarter, en route to 29 points. Tonight, you knew what you were going to get from the Jays. You knew what you were going to get from Derek White. I didn't have Luke Kornet going off for 15 points and a career-high 16 rebounds on my bingo card. And I guess, again, that's what you lose without having Victor Wembanyama in the middle.
Spurs are really missing that rim protection in the paint, and he went off 7 for 10 here, 15 points, 16 rebounds, career high for him. He played really well for the Boston Celtics. And, yeah, the Spurs are really missing that rim protection, that inside presence to make you second-guess going in the paint.
Yeah, 7 offensive rebounds for Kornet. He was the total wild card tonight. The Spurs just didn't have an answer for him. For more, let's send it down to the 2 gentlemen who called tonight's game, Jacob Toby and Sean Elliott. Guys.
Dan, thank you very much. Another tough game against a very, very good team in the Boston Celtics. But again, Stephon Castle comes through, has his 22nd 20-point game of his rookie season.
I don't think there's any question that he's the rookie of the year. I think it's a foregone conclusion. He's got to continue to play well, though, and just continue to cement that in the minds of the voters out there. He does everything well. Defensively, he's been a bulldog, as we've talked about, just coming along more and more offensively. And I really like his assist numbers more than anything. We know that he can finish at the rim. He's learned to use his body really well, getting into the paint area, going downhill, just really creative in the paint. But he's able to also distribute and find guys around the perimeter, and his assist numbers continue to climb.
And he's going to have a tough task. He'll probably guard Jimmy Butler a little bit tomorrow. He'll probably guard Steph Curry if he plays a little bit tomorrow.
That's all good.
He's going to be busy.
Yeah, that's all good. And you know, the thing I love about Steph is that he steps up and he accepts those challenges.
Absolutely. Just want to shout out real quick. My best friends are here from high school. These goons behind me, Kevin, Nick, and John. 3 of those guys have meant a lot to me.
You guys are going to tear up the streets tonight.
I don't know about that.
I do know about that.
Those 3 guys really helped me get to where I am sitting next to you. So
we'll see if you're available tomorrow.
I'll be there. Okay. I think. Send it back to you, Dan.
All right. See you guys tomorrow, bright and early. 6 o'clock start back here at the Frost Bank
That's
Center.
Right.
Yeah, you're on it, Sean. Don't worry. Kiana, Spurs get back at it right tomorrow night against the Golden State Warriors. They, played a real physical game tonight, and I thought that's what kept them in the game against the Celtics, and we'll see how that carries over to tomorrow.
Yeah, they're going to need to be really physical. Jimmy Butler's playing well, new addition to the Warriors, and it'll be a great game tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that as we go later on here in Spurs Live. But Chris Paul had a big personal 8-0 run there late in the game. There's 2 of them right there. Spurs fall 121-111. More Spurs Live when we continue after this. Jason Tatum, 29 points, 21 for Drew Holiday. And again, it was Luke Kornet, the career-high 16 rebounds, 7 on the offensive end, along with 15 points, all part of the Celtics win. All 5 Spurs starters finished in double figures. Dan Weiss, Kiana Williams. But again, we touched on Keldon Johnson at the half, and it was another Keldon Johnson night, and efficient at that. He was 9 of 12 from the field. Kiana, 23 points, 6 rebounds. And when the Spurs realized they could get downhill and get physical on the Celtics, it was Keldon Johnson leading that charge.
Yeah, he came off the bench and took care of business. So you see him getting downhill, touching paint, and here CP3's kicking them to a wide open 3. Keldon's been a bright light off the bench all season. So, like we mentioned earlier in the pregame show, it's a long week for the Spurs. Have a few more games this week, so they're going to need their bench presence to come alive.
Yeah, we mentioned that's the 48th game with 10 or more points off the bench this season for the Spurs, most since the 1980-81 season. I wonder if the Spurs may have found a little bit of kryptonite in the Celtics defense, that as good as they are, they didn't, I don't think, handle the physicality. I know they didn't have Al Horford tonight, but I don't think they handled the Spurs' physicality on the offensive end as well as I anticipated they would here tonight.
No, I agree, Dan. And Spurs did a really great job of trying to get down paint, making some threes, but this is a well-rounded Boston team. They're just clicking on all cylinders. It's really tough to beat them when they're playing like that.
Yeah, it was a good fight for the Spurs tonight, but the Celtics too much as they get their 8th win in a row here, continuing on this road trip. Keldon Johnson, again, a big part of tonight's offensive, and Devin Vassell, big-time shot, 3 of his 14 on the night. We wrap up Spurs Live on the other side after this.
What do you think of your team's ability just to kind of stay in the game with a really great Boston team?
Very pleased. I thought we did a lot of the hard things tonight. There was a few times I think some of the things that we can control, we let our guard down on, which, again, you're not going to be perfect, but that stuff, when you're playing that good and doing the hard stuff, that can be frustrating, just not talking through a situation. Getting bogged down with the refs so you're not already into the next play. Just trusting to get all the way to the corner instead of a step short, because that will maximize your space. And just some little things, but overall, very pleased with the effort. And like I said, I thought we did a lot of the hard things tonight, which against a team of that caliber is a task.
I think you guys have been, really since the All-Star break, one of the better offensive teams in the league. And this is a really good defensive team. And you're talking about the little things like one step away from the corner. Maybe this is too simple of a question, but like, is that the difference between whenever you have spacing like that and letting your offense get into its flow and everything like that, get into its most efficient areas? Is that something that you guys have been doing a lot better lately?
Yeah. I mean, teams don't get blown out in 48 minutes in this league, right? It's competitive. And then it's those little things in the balance. There's probably typically 2 or 3 times in the game where there's a balance. The game is in the balance and something happens for or against you. And sometimes it's fate. Sometimes it's out of your control. And a lot of times it's what you can control. And those are the things where you fight and you get it to 6. And then you look up in 45 seconds of gameplay and you're down 12. And against these types of teams, that's just not going to be able to be survivable, if that is a word, over time.
When you look at the second chance points, it was 23-6. Did you kind of feel like that was sort of maybe the one area that kind of turned the game or told the tale?
Yeah, that hurt us for sure. They shoot us so many threes, obviously, and so those rebounds are going to be a little bit more random at times, just in terms of where they go, the distance they come off the rim. And I thought even there was a few times where we just walked underneath or ran underneath the rebound and went over our head, and it's just a discipline and something sometimes when you're not as used to going up against the 51 attempts from 3. And I thought we did fight for the most part on the boards, but yeah, that's going to be tough when you give up 7 extra shots, especially when you turn the ball over only 5 times. So to give up that many more attempts at the goal is tough.
What was the challenge of dealing with the double big lineup that Boston used for parts of that game?
Yeah, they're very intentional in how they guard. They like to play big, and then they also, have very low pickup points in terms of where they were guarding certain guys. And it's just something that we haven't seen as recently, and it's just a slight adjustment, again, for some of the younger guys in terms of understanding angles and where their screens have to be and what you have to do to combat a different look. And that's something that we'll continue to do and be sharper on.
So Mitch Johnson finding a lot more positives out of his Spurs crew tonight. And again, did a lot of good things, but you look down at the box score, you see 51 3-point attempts by the Boston Celtics, but then you see, 17 offensive rebounds turning to 25 second chance points. That's hard to keep up with.
Yeah, the Spurs got out rebounded there, and Boston, they live and die by the 3, and lately they've been living by it.
Yeah,
so.
17 of 51 tonight for the Celtics. So the Golden State Warriors tomorrow, the back half of the back-to-back. Kiana, it's hard to believe the Warriors were 25 and 26 when Jimmy Butler took the floor with them at the United Center for the first game after the trade. They are 17 and 5 since acquiring Jimmy Butler in 22 games now, 42 and 31 as they come to the Frost Bank Center tomorrow. Steph Curry did return from that pelvic contusion last night in New Orleans, so we'll see. He should be ready to go tomorrow night. But this is a team that, again, didn't look like they were going anywhere, and Jimmy Butler has really changed the fortunes of their crew.
Yeah, Jimmy brings in experience. Jimmy buckets. He takes pressure off of Curry, takes pressure off of Draymond Green, and he's meshed really well with this Warriors team. So we'll see when they come in and see how the Spurs match up against them.
Yeah, we'll see what this team is made of as they meet the Spurs tomorrow night on the second half of a back-to-back. Tonight, it was quite the fight again from the Spurs against one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. Second game in a row. All 5 starters in double figures. 23 from Keldon Johnson, but Jason Tatum has 29. The Celtics win it by 10, 121-111. For Kiana Williams, Jacob Toby, Sean Elliott, our entire crew, I'm Dan Weiss, saying so long. We'll see you tomorrow. Spurs and Warriors, 5:30 for Spurs Live right here on FanDuel Sports Network. Good night, everybody.